So we thought pro argument is more important because our impact outweighs the cons. Regarding to the cons argument about translation and culture, we have some responses to explain why we win the case. First, we think that language loss is a natural process. Like any other loss, and most languages die out because people yearn for a better life. When choosing a popular language, let people have better career opportunities, then we should let people choose what benefits them the most. Letting a language run its natural course conforms to the law of nature, and it has far more advantages. Even if the loss of some languages is because oppressive forces, the reality is that language loss is a sum of voluntary individual choices adding up. It is the consequence of people who voluntarily give up on languages because people are not passionate about learning and keeping languages that only a few hundred other people speak, and they want to put in time to learn popular languages in the world. Second, using another language doesn't mean that you lose your culture and identity. For example, many people still regard themselves as Taiwanese, even though they can't speak Taiwanese or Hakka fluently, and their culture still exists in their daily life. The examples show that culture is a way of life and a way of thinking, not quite related to language. So, if a language disappears, the culture can still be preserved and recorded in other ways, since it is engraved in people's minds. What's more, language and culture are changing all the time. It is reasonable for people to change with time and to focus on the present. If a language is no longer in use, people can still use other ways to make up for the loss. Last, our point is that language loss isn't as important because people can use another language once their language dies. It is not urgent as like biological losses. How can people live without food, but we can still live without only a language disappear? Language is just a tool to express our thoughts, so language must come after the thought emerged. What our opponent said wasn't true, and language loss doesn't equal the loss of worldview, because thought has always been there. Where we win the case is because our impacts outweigh. That means cost, efficiency, and choice are more important. For the above reasons, we strongly urge an affirmative ballot.
Summary speech, 3 minutes.
We want to start our speech by responding our opponent's questions first. The opponent mentioned that the experts from different countries communicate in language different from their original ones, which means they must have learned a new language to communicate or work to the others, and is a part of their working requirements. Not everyone needs to learn a new language to work or to communicate, and there is evidence of how expensive it can be. And the process to say that people don't have passion to preserve languages, but does people really have passion to learn a new languages? Here's an example. They say that if language are natural die out, the rest of language are the most people spoken. If we take Chinese as example, there are 1.1 billion users. According to a report in an article from Espetica, it costs 13 euros per hour to learn Chinese, and at least 29,000 euros to become proficient. Even if the language does not decrease, people still learn foreign languages, but they will have more room to choose. After all, not everyone needs to learn a new languages, and the reduction of language will also bring cultural losses. We believe it's better to maintaining the status quo. If language is not reduced, then not everyone has to learn a foreign language. But once they are reduced, those people who have lost the original language can only be forced to learn a new language in order to communicate with others.
Now we want to summarize our argument. First, pure language will lead to the disappearance of its related cultural elements. The knowledge that depends on cultural-specific ideology will disappear with language, and even if not, what speakers of other languages want to explain may not be accurate. Second, different languages represent different cultures, and some concepts are not applicable to all languages. In summary, we cannot stress too much on the importance for remain the status quo because of change in the number of languages. Well, that makes the world a better place.
Translation time. Time's up. Third Crossfire, 3 minutes.
How can you prove that people can only be forced to learn?
Because if some people's language are die out, they cannot communicate with others. Like if there are more people speaking in one language, they will have no choice but to learn that one language in order to communicate with the most of the people. Is the translation now we use is exactly correct?
We can prove that the translation we use is exactly correct, but we can prove that if we decrease the languages, we can absolutely decrease the problem between the translation between so many different languages. As you mentioned in our Crossfire question, you say yes that translation have many some problem between it. So we just decrease the languages and decrease the problem between it, right?
Yes, but the decrease of language also reduce the cultural knowledge. You can, as you say the translation we use is not exactly correct, but it does mean that the cultural knowledge cannot be translated into other languages. Okay, our question is,
How to prove that there are no translation errors if there are fewer languages?
Pardon, would you repeat your question again?
how to prove that there are no translation errors if there are fewer languages?
Yes, translation have errors, but when you use popular languages, there have been a more complete translation system. So it is better to when you use your popular language.
And in your summary speech, you say we can save culture by many ways. And can you prove it that the languages combined with culture? Can you show your evidence part of this?